When I first heard the announcement for the Oakland Raiders 2014 schedule, for the 2014 season, I just looked at that and I guess I kind of had the exact same emotion that most U.S. soccer fans had when the group of death was revealed. When you find out, oh, you're playing against Germany and Portugal and Ghana, all these really top tier teams, and you're just mediocre. Well, the Raiders, I think, are pretty much a sub-mediocre team, and looking at this schedule, it's absolutely ghastly. This is a team that is playing. Let me count up here. Okay, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This playing. It looks like 7 or 8 teams this year. Actually, multiple times, because every team in the AFC West last year that wasn't called the Raiders made the playoffs. They have what looks to be here almost 3/4, not quite 3/4, but pretty close to it. Between 2/3 and 3/4 of their schedule in 2014 will be against teams who made the playoffs last year. This is not good. This is a team who is definitely still in the rebuilding process. And to go up against such top-tier talent, assuming they're going to be as good as they were last year, and I think the case with how the NFC and AFC West teams did in the free agency period, I should say, that they're probably not going to be worse than they were last year. This just is a gigantic rain cloud over my head. Usually I can lie to myself and say that, the time's going to change up. There's always huge meteoric rises every season in the NFL. This might be the Raiders' year. I just don't see that happening, even with Derek Carr, and I made a video earlier talking about the impact of all these new rookies and some of the free agent acquisitions in off-season. I just don't see the Raiders doing much. My golden standard, I know as low as it is, not the playoffs, not even close to being a Super Bowl. It's just going 9-7. If they can do that, I will be happy. I will not feel as if I wasted my entire fall watching this crap. And the question for me is, can the Raiders go 9-7 with this absolutely hellacious schedule, where it looks like every single team they're playing is much improved from last year, where at least half of them are almost guaranteed to be playoff-bound teams in 2014? And I'm going to be very pessimistic, but pessimistic with a few glimmers of hope, which I know sounds really counterintuitive, but hear me out. Looking at the schedule, we got the first game of the season, September 7th against the New York Jets. Okay, I think this is a game where the Raiders will win. The Jets are obviously a team, much like the Raiders, who are perennially in disarray, except the Jets actually win games and can make the playoffs. They got the huge quarterback controversy of Michael Vick and Geno Smith and all that going on. And I think the Raiders, who will start probably Matt Schwab in this game. I think he's going to play the entire game. Derek Carr will not come in. I think the Raiders will somehow pull off the upset here. A lot of people are going to lose in their elimination pools early on in the week, because the Raiders generally have played pretty well on the first day of the season. I think even looking the past couple of years, even though the games have been close, the Raiders have kept it very close. I think they end up winning this game 24-20. Next week against the Houston Texans, I think the Texans are going to be a vastly, vastly, vastly improved team. They're at least playing at Oakland. I think the Texans win this one. They win it handily. It's going to be one of those games where Schwab gets crushed by his ex-team. I'm going to go with the Texans winning like 34-21, just a huge double-digit victory. So that puts the Raiders at 1-1 at the 1/6 or 1/8 mark of the season. Playing the Patriots. Come on now. Come on. So we got the Raiders going 1-2. They're playing the Dolphins in London. Dolphins, for the last couple seasons, pretty much own the Raiders. But it's a neutral site, and I'm going to be optimistic. I'm going to have the Raiders win this one by like a field goal. So we're 2-2 heading into the 5th week bye. So once again, the Raiders get a very, very early leave of absence. The Raiders actually played pretty well against the Chargers the last couple of years. I think they actually beat the Chargers at OC Coliseum, so they're 3-2. Going up against the Arizona Cardinals and Carson Palmer, I've got them dropping that game because traditionally have not played well against NFC West opponents the last couple of years. I think they beat Cleveland Browns on the road, which is rarity, so they're 4-3. Then they have an absolutely just deadly stand against the Seahawks, the Broncos, Chargers, and the Chiefs. And I think, as much as I'd said, the Raiders lose all of those. So heading into Week 13, I see this as being a team that is 4 and, I'm doing the math, 4-7. So really not looking good at all heading into the final stand. I think they do beat the Rams though, so they improved to 5-7. They get massacred by the 49ers. They drop to 5-8. I think they make it competitive against the Chiefs, but they can't pull it in, so they drop to 5-10. And I think they end up beating the Buffalo Bills December 21st to go 6-10. Well, not 6-10, 6-9. I'm not good with math. And dropping the final games against the Broncos. So I think probably the most realistic or optimistic assumption I can make at this point is that the Raiders will go 6-10 this year, which is an improvement. But considering the way these games go, I don't think there's any sort of like swing games where possibly the Raiders can beat the Seahawks, possibly they can beat the Broncos on the road. I just don't see it, not with the core that they have and not with the top tier talent they're facing, both in the AFC West and the NFC West, and even some of these outside the division games. So, well, yeah, I think the Raiders mildly improved this year, but far from a playoff team. Super Bowl not even remotely close. Don't even think about that. And I think the really interesting thing is, let's say the Raiders do go 6-10. It's an improvement, but it's still a subpar team. Is that when you say it's time to clean house? Is that time for Dennis Allen to go? Is that time for Reggie McKenzie to pack his bags? That's the interesting thing here. So they're really fighting for their careers too. And unless Al Davis's kid makes some Donald Sterling-esque remarks, I'm not sure just how much success this team can have with that trifecta of Tommy Boy, McKenzie, and Allen. I don't know. I've been saying it for years. Maybe for this team to succeed, you got to have new ownership. Maybe they got to leave Oakland. Maybe they got to go to L.A. Maybe they got to go somewhere. But this team needs a drastic overhaul, and I don't think the answer here is automatically on the field. I think it'll be a better on-the-field team, but the infrastructure problems remain, and they got to address those, and you can't address those with cleats. This has to be a top-ranked organizational executive call, and until the Raiders get that, I don't think they're going to be a championship team or even a playoff team. So we'll see. But you never know. That's why we play the games. Funny things can happen. The Raiders might get that fire under their wing. They might go out there. They might win more than 6 games. They can also lose more than 6 games, which is probably more probable than winning more than 6 games. But still, always that outside shot. So I go into this a lot more realistic than I have, a lot less romantic than I have in previous seasons. The Raiders will be a marginally improved team, but I think that's about it. But you never know, and football is football. Crazy things happen, and that's why we watch it. That's why we're Raiders fans. And no matter what, I am really, really looking forward to some football this season.